Here's how I use Claude to scrape Reddit to make amazing Twitter posts. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is John Rich. I'm a fractional CMO, content strategist, PR guru, and marketing expert. Today, we are going to talk about using Claude to create exceptional social media posts. Now, how I use AI and how I think people should be thinking about AI when it comes to social media is not doing it for them. I think a human is incredibly important for a lot of different reasons, but AI can get us to a quality content strategy. It can get us 80% there, 90% there. I think we'll always need to kind of touch it up. But what Claude can do and how Claude can take a very specific post, which would maybe normally take you 30, 45 minutes to research, to really, to write out, to make sure everything's accurate, down to just 5 minutes. I mean, if you extrapolate that over the course of a week, a month, a year, I mean, you're saving a ton of time. Whether that's someone in my case driving down, what I charge for my services, or just saving time or taking on more clients. And so really powerful stuff here, what I'm about to show you. This specific case here, we're going to use a Reddit MCP that I installed in Claude. If you're not sure how to do that or create that, we'll have another video on that at some point. What I do for this project is I will be using Claude to search Reddit, which I believe is one of the most relevant platforms where a lot of the conversation first begins on matters that kind of bubble up into social media virality. Using Reddit to find some of these themes, these events, what people are talking about, and then using in parallel our institutional knowledge, whether it's a client's or yours. For instance, today's example will be on me, using that institutional knowledge and marrying those two together to create in this case, a long Twitter thread, on that specific case. Again, something like this, I think would probably take, 30 minutes, maybe a little less, but it's going to take me 5 minutes. And so let me get it all set up here and I'll show you. All right, we're back. You'll see on the screen here, we have Claude's main interface up. Again, I use Claude's desktop function for this. To repeat, I've said this before, and I'll probably say it in every video going forward. I am not a coder. I am not an engineer. I have very little, perhaps even no coding background experience whatsoever. So when using these MCPs, it is very easy to install, and I would highly suggest anyone watching this video go look into getting Claude and understanding how to get all these MCPs in here. All right, so we're going to navigate to what Claude calls projects. ChatGPT and other Gen AI platforms have this, where you can save background knowledge or core knowledge or institutional items so that the chat can always refer to that institutional framework or assets that you've uploaded. So in here, that's what projects are. So I'm going to navigate over to projects. I have one, just built one for this. I'll probably continue to build this out. But here, again, I run a fractional CMO PR function. And so I've uploaded a bunch of different documents that help networking strategies, guide to AI search optimization, conversion blogs, getting listed on chat, crisis comms, which is what we'll be using today. A bunch of other different things that allows Claude to pull from my voice, how I write, but also the institutional knowledge that I am contributing. Okay. And so here's the interface, operating it within Claude. Here, just to point this out, are my MCPs. And so I have a couple. We're going to be using the Reddit MCP today. I also have an SEO, and then also just one that helps me search podcasts, which we'll get in another episode. And so for this one, I kind of did a test case for this. It worked out great. So we're going to try and recreate that. But I can probably show you how that one landed as well. And so what I want to do is for this document right here, I went on a podcast about 6 months ago and outlined my 8-step process to handling a crisis communication situation. And I want to leverage that document and apply it to a current real world situation that's happening. And so we're going to check Reddit to see what's currently being discussed, what people are still talking about, and then creating a post using that podcast information in terms of how I would solve it. So let's see how this turns out. Well, let's go. All right. So chat, use the Reddit MCP to search for the top three subthreads on a crisis communications situation. If possible, the most recent, if possible, pull from the last, we'll say 72 hours. So let's see what this says. Okay. So what it's doing here is it's going to search. And so now it's asking me to access the Reddit MCP. So it's going to search here. Let's see. Let's open this up. I can see about thread, but none of them sees about recent. Okay. So it's searching that. It's searching at other threads. Bugging studies, some found specific crisis communications. Crisis. So again, it's searching it's going through all these different crises. Now let me search for specific crisis content details. Okay. Okay. Everyone loves it. Talking about ICE. Okay. Air India post. Okay. So what it did was I can see some potential crisis situation on the front page. Pick of the ISRS 6-year-old kid. Oh, that sucks. That's one. Let's see what else we had here. Content. Let me discuss here. All right, so there's an ICE one. There's an Air India statement controversy. Let's read this one. And then municipal abuse of power media interview. Okay, these are some juicy ones. We're going to avoid the Trump ICE one, although that might actually get me more engagement on this video if I did that. But what we're going to do here is let's look at these two. Air India CEO allegedly used identical language to other crisis statements. Okay, not great. Not great. Facing municipal abuse of power issues, received a request for a live TV and is seeking advice on where to send a narrative beforehand. Unexpected media attention on government abuse issues. Individual handling crisis communication solo without local. Demonstrate children crisis and challenges faced by individuals without PR teams. Okay, let's do that. Let's see what that is. Okay. I need more information on this municipal one, so I'm going to ask Claude to dive a little deeper on this situation, and let's see what it says. Again, when you're working with large language models and Gen AI, the more context and details you can provide it, the better the outputs, the better the inputs, the better the outputs. And so here, if I were just to say make a social media post, it may not have enough context around the situation. So I'm going to tell it to dive in a little deeper. Okay, let's dive deeper on number 3, municipal abuse of power. Can you dive deeper into the story and analyze the conversation happening on Reddit? Okay. Let's see here. So it's going to continue to probe. So something like this I would do, what I do for clients is I would use this every day to get a glimpse of what's going on, maybe once a week, depends, right? Just to see what's bubbling up. And then I get this report, and you can automate this report through N8N, which at some point I want to do, but I haven't done that yet. Our person faced familiar around allegations, handling media credit solo, not by choice, actively seeking help, the person be experienced. Crisis. So this is perfect. This person is literally looking for crisis communications help, how to do it, what to do. Okay, Reddit conversation, server key interviews, from a journalist perspective. So this person, no, you're not going to get the question in advance. Okay, frame background errors. Okay, key themes from the discussion. Okay, you know what? I'm going to try something. We're not going to do a Twitter thread right now. Let's try something a little different. Using my crisis communications transcripts, podcast transcript. Can you create a helpful response that I could post in this thread? Let's see. So I'm asking it to pull the document that is in my project, specifically this case. So let's see what it does. For the interview, walk through these steps, get crystal clear in the facts, understand the stakes. For the actual interview, if you can ask, start off the record for context and go to on the record quotes, it's incredible. If they ask something I'm ready for, that's a good question. Let me think. I might get back to you. One tactical thing. So this post is pretty close to what I would say. Probably wouldn't send background materials. I mean, I would if it was all fact based and to give them some stuff. I would probably say like, hey, this needs to be off the record. This is a good post. This is a good post. This is 80% of it there. And so I don't need to think through about that. I can just ask to do this and go. It makes life a little easier, save some time. All right. Great. Now I'd like you to make a Twitter thread using my podcast transcripts and walking through my followers what this person should have done. And I always say, ask me any clarifying questions you may have. I don't worry about misspellings because they usually know what the word is. So it's thinking, it's crafting the Twitter thread. Nice. So it asked me clarifying question, which is great. So tone and audience, tone, conversational and educational, reference level, yes, reference Reddit thread, length, 7 is optimal, but no more than 10 tweets. Branding, no branding. Angle, broader, anyone thrown into, limelight. And then call to action, CTA, don't worry, I'll add. Okay. So there we go. So now it's using my 8-step framework here. So it's actually pulling all the framework. It's an 8-step framework. Right. I think it's great. Consider all tactics. Something's right move, do nothing. This is great. So yeah, let's go through this. So also want to ask whether to send background info to live TV and they're handling it. So no power. Here's what they should have done before the reporter called. Breathe. When crisis hits, our brain goes straight to my life is over. This person is smart. They're thinking straight instead of panicking. My first rule, stay calm and objective. You can't make good decisions when you're spiraling. Yes, that's true. The facts right before I really know everything. Timeline, who's involved. Yep, correct. Understanding the stakes. It's local news. Reach 50K or just going viral. Will it stay local? Yep. Consider all tactics. I'm not a big emoji guy. I mean, I'm a huge M dash person. I use M dashes all the time in my writing. So that's frustrating that people think that's AI, but I don't use a lot of emojis. Sometimes. Step 5, map your best worst outcomes. It's great. Execute with confidence. And then this is great. This is solid. I mean, I would make some change to this, but again, this is solid. I can very quickly put this in. I would have to check to make sure, does this account for Twitter character tweet limits? So let's see. I'd be curious. Yep, that's what I figured. So let me write those. Yep. There you go. And that's it. I would probably, I'm going to say expand. Expand these a little more than, can use, can create up to 15 posts. So let's say, I'm curious to see, because right now it's using my 8-step framework and creating 8 tweets, but I'm curious to see when I give it that direction, how it'll handle the content across 8, up to 15 posts. So let's see. There's a framework. Okay, write a poster mentioned, understand the stakes when it's long term. Great. So it does that. So I like how it's bolding each step, which is great. Write a poster is already thinking it's a good sign. Great. Perfect. Done. Solid post. So this is great. It used all my institutional knowledge to create this and used my framework, which is exactly what I love here. Let me go to this other example that I did beforehand just to show you again kind of how this works. Let's see here. And this is before I set up the project. Okay, here we go. Let me scroll to the top here. And so I said, chat, I want to pull from a Reddit top 3 threads, subthreads that discuss crisis communications and analyze them for me. So it pinged the MCP, went through it, and there's 3 of them. Arian, the CEO, remarks about thread 1, Kroger's Juneteenth cake crisis, and then thread 2, the prime drink sales decline discussion. I chose to, and it analyzed all of them for me. And so this is great because then I can talk about, accountability, like, hey, use my framework to talk about accountability in crisis communications. Here are some best practice recommendations. Hey, some people on the thread recommended this. This is why this isn't right. I mean, you can go so many directions with this content. And so here I said, for the third example, I want you to create a Twitter post thread on it, attaches the transcript from a podcast I did. So I gave it the source material from my podcast. And I said, can you take my transcript and create a post that outlined what I would have recommended in that situation? Ask me questions if you need clarity. So it asked me questions. I answered those questions. And then it gave a solid response. Now, again, I probably have to look at the character limits for some of these, but they look fine. Consider tactics. I mean, I think this is a great thread. I love it. I think it's great. And so this is just another example of how you can use Claude to create content more efficiently, quicker, and with more quality. This can be easily used against if you are if you work for the government and there's 3-hour long testimony, You can get that transcribed. I use otter.ai to transcribe and track my meetings, but you can transcribe it, then you can upload it. Claude will take videos and analyze it as well. And then you can use your institutional knowledge or background. I mean, if you're writing all these different blogs and your point of view and all your mission statements, you can easily rub those two together to create some good posts based off that transcript instead of having to watch it for 3 hours. Government memos. If you're in finance, analyzing shareholder letters, earnings transcripts. I mean, there's so many use cases for this. And again, rubbing your own information, your own knowledge, how you speak, what you've created before against, a very large public document, and then creating quality content off that is going to save so much time. And again, you'll have to touch it up, but you're getting 80 to 90% there on your content. And so now you're creating more quality content, more quantity, a lot more posts, which social media loves, right? I mean, you really should be posting at least once a day for LinkedIn and then Twitter, more times. And then you're getting your thoughts and ideas out there, your original thoughts and ideas out there, and inputting it in a relevant, recent case. You always want to be talking in or around what's currently happening. If you're talking about something that happened a week ago, no one really cares. Right? So staying relevant, staying recent is important. And so using Claude in this way will definitely help you.